Hey, it's Alex, and today we're going to talk about if the iPhone XR or XR is even worth it here in late 2020. For 90% of people, yeah, it is. Let's talk about it. Real quick before we get started, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that bell icon, like and comment on this video. It really helps out the channel a lot. But let's get started. So this iPhone came out in 2018, just 1 year after the new redesign of the iPhone X, not the iPhone X, the 10, it's a Roman numeral. It was released along the iPhone XS and XS Max as sort of like a lower end budget option, not the Pro version. It catered to people that didn't want to spend $1,000 on all the bells and whistles, but still wanted or needed a new phone. So what made it a budget phone? You could save $200 to $300 off the price of the XS or the XS Max especially. Basically, all it comes down to is the screen technology and the hardware. So it's encased in aluminum versus the XS or the XS Max, which had stainless steel, which is much more expensive. I actually prefer the aluminum. I think it feels nicer and it's easier to hold. And then the screen. The XS and XS Max had a OLED screen, which is like a much higher screen technology, and the XR just has an LED screen, which is from previous generations, but it's still a high-end LED screen. You can't like pixel peep on it. Like it's pretty high density resolution and a really good screen. And it had one less camera. The XS and the XS Max had two cameras. They had like a regular, and then they had a telephoto, which let you zoom in. The XR only had one regular camera on the back side. So that's really it. If you can live with one camera, an aluminum body, and an LCD screen as opposed to an OLED, then you can save yourself a couple $100. And in fact, the XR is actually slightly larger than the XS in size, believe it or not. And when this phone was released, it was the single most battery efficient iPhone they'd ever released. It got crazy battery life. Nowadays, it's beat out by the 11, but it still is an amazing phone battery, and it would last you the entire day, day and a half if you really needed it. But fast forward 2 years, and how has this phone held up? It's going on almost 2.5 years old now, and honestly, it's really good. My wife has actually used this phone. This is the B-roll I'm recording for it. She's used this phone for the past year and a half, and it's had no issues, no problems. Great battery life, great camera, still running strong just like the day she got it. And it's honestly my recommendation if you're looking to get a new iPhone, if you're upgrading from something older and you want the new style with Face ID and you want the fancy screen, but you don't want to pay $1,000 for all the cameras and the bells and whistles. If you just want that, if you want something kind of middle of the road that's newer style but still affordable, the XR is definitely my recommendation. And right now, you can actually buy them for about as cheap as the iPhone SE, around about $350. My brother actually just picked one up. He uses Straight Talk as his provider, and they were selling them for like a Black Friday deal, a discount. He got a brand new XR for $350. And that's a really good price considering they still sell on Apple's website for $500 brand new. So like I say, you can find deals on these things. You can get them for almost half off, and they're still amazing phones. They're still going to have probably a good 4 years left on their life cycle, and they're just great. But I'll just make it easy for you. If you're considering buying this phone here in 2020, it likely means you're either coming from an older iPhone or switching from Android and you want to give it a try. My recommendation is go for it. It's about the cheapest iPhone and the newest one that you can find that's still going to last you a long time. Unless you opt for the SE, if you don't want all the bells and whistles and you just want the SE, it is 2 years, about a year and a half newer. So in the long run, the SE will likely outpace the XR. But for the same price, you can get the bells and whistles, the features, and still have almost all of that longevity in the device's life. So about 4 years. I would highly recommend it. It's a fantastic device, and I was going to buy one for myself, but I found a great deal on a XS Max, so I went with that instead. But they're great phones, and I would just really recommend looking into it if you're at all interested. But in a nutshell, if you're even considering buying this phone, just do it. You won't regret it. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.